Tonight, we're going to report on one dashboard metric that we're tracking, that we're proud not only that we're tracking or how often we intercede before flashover and structural fires, but also proud of the results. Chief Sims is our planning and analysis chief. He leads basically those elements of the PFA, of what we're looking toward the future and how we're collecting our data. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Sims.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, providing us the opportunity to come and share with you tonight. I also want to thank City Manager Atterbury and his staff for allowing us to share these measures with the entire community through the City of Fort Collins dashboard. It's a great partnership we have. So as you know, our strategic alignment with our measures are in Safe Community, specifically SAFE 5.3, partner with Poudre Fire Authority to provide high-quality fire prevention, community risk reduction, and emergency services. This specific metric, the percent of time that we intercede into flashover, has been a very successful measure for us. There's a culmination of several things that contribute to that, but a flashover is when everything in a single room reaches basically its ignition temperature, and temperatures can get to up to 1,200 degrees in that room. So we know if we can intercede prior to flashover, we can succeed in keeping the fire to that room, greater potential for life safety throughout the structure, and less damage. So, and again, as you can see through the measure, we've been very successful moving through doing this. My planning team analyzes every structure fire in the community over a quarterly basis, and the report writers report on whether or not a fire reached flashover. They work with the investigators in doing that. It's fairly easy to tell because if the entire room's destroyed, we know it went to flashover. So contributors to the success of this, basically, first, I want to highlight the community risk reduction. The safe built environment, the code adoption that happens here in the county, and our fire safety inspections really help improve the outcomes in the commercial environment. We have had several incidences of fire prevention code adopted measures that have stopped fire, either through sprinklers in commercial buildings, but also through mandated and inspected fire extinguishers, where people have actually used an extinguisher to put out a fire, and it may not have been there had we not inspected the building or mandated it through code. And then finally, the public education and fire safety component of that is the education in what we do really throughout the community, but really in the residential environment where the fire code doesn't have any authority. Next would be quality response times. I'm going to skip down to quality response times because we want to get on scene fast. We know that in the modern environment that fire does reach flashover quicker. We have done intense studies in our up to the fire behavior and the training component. And I put the fire behavior and training after quality response times because who cares if we can get there fast, if we can't get a hose line off the engine, if we do circles and look like buffoons. So we spend a lot of time on fire behavior. The chief has actually authorized one of our previous training captains who's a chief to participate in some training in Sweden, learning about how they fight fire there. We're very progressive in our tactics that we use. And the training that we do to be able to deploy hose lines. And then the equipment and staffing. And all of this is very heavy budgetary items. I mean, a single fire engine can cost up to $500,000 to $600,000. Fire trucks are over $1 million. So to have the equipment and the staffing to get and be able to cover our community with our standard of cover is very important. And so kind of the fire suppression outcomes, every program within the Poudre Fire Authority is tasked with reporting on outcomes to us and to the board of directors. Again, we're looking for improved life safety. Our incident priorities are life safety, incident stabilization, and then property conservation. We know if we can intercede prior to the flashover, we're going to have a better outcome with life safety. We want to decrease dollar loss due to fire damage, and that is not allowing the fire to grow. And again, best of all worlds, we put it out with a sprinkler system before any of our crews ever get on scene. We want to decrease water use. And that's not just to save water, but we know we do secondary damage by using a ton of water in structures. And then we want to decrease secondary damage. And that's part of our study of fire behavior and changing our tactics to be more modern, to do less destruction when we get inside of a building, whether it's a residence or a commercial building, so that we use a little bit of water and we use safer, better tactics that don't tear the building up on a secondary way, so that our outcomes of property conservation are intact. So that's a basic overview of that measure.